Hey, everybody, welcome to another edition of the NGCOA's Advocacy Angle, sponsored by the Champion Circle, the NGCOA Champion Circle, that is. I'm your host, Michael Williams, along with my co-host, Ronnie Miles. Ronnie, how are you, my friend?
Good, Michael. How are you doing?
Doing outstanding.
Good.
We're separate here, but I'm in South Carolina, so I couldn't be
That's
happier. Home with my parents.
glad to hear. Looks like the weather's going to be good for your trip down, and uh, keep it going, and I hopefully get to get out and play some golf while you're
Roger that, from your lips to God's ears, as they always say.
here. Yeah.
So I wanted to get started talking about a couple of things here. I know we're going to be talking about travel in a little bit. I want to go over that, but I know that what's in the front of many people's minds, especially in my hometown of Washington, D.C., is the government shutdown, the threatened or perceived government shutdown. I want to get your thoughts on if that, number one, is going to happen, and if it does, or even the threat of it, what is that doing to golf? Does that have any effect on how we do our business?
Well, yeah. I think first off, will there be a shutdown? That's a 50-50 question or answer, should I
Mhm.
say. I
Mhm.
think they'll do everything they can, not to hopefully they will have a continuing resolution that's amenable and moves into maybe November or even into 2026. So we'll wait and see where that goes. But should there be a shutdown, what impact would it have on golf? That depends on where you are. We have for golf courses facilities that are on federal property. It could be impacted, whether it be by access, whether it be by the inability to operate because they don't have the funding. For each, they're different. For myself, in my previous career, I worked with the military. And when they had shutdowns, fortunately, golf was a self-supporting activity, so it wasn't impacted by the federal shutdown. So how that applies to the state parks where their golf courses exist, I'm not sure. So we just have to see what kind of language comes out.
Mhm.
They will make certain provisions for certain entities of the government to remain open, but until there is an actual um, uh, closure, then they'll have definition of who and what will be operating. But in
And I
terms
have
of
to say,
general golf community, what we could see is a lot more available individuals want to play golf during the week. So we'll see how that
yeah,
goes.
yeah. I mean, I'd say that I started off as you started off in golf with the federal government. So did I at the three National Park Service courses in Washington, D.C. So when there's a government shutdown, that shuts down those courses completely because they are federally funded. Even though they are on a separate contract now, it's a different operating structure than when I was operating them. I believe that they will close down. So there is some impact, and we will have to wait and see. Just one last question on that: Are there any things that are particular or particularly interesting to the golf community that are involved with the shutdown issues, or is it all just the ramifications of a shutdown in general?
Yeah, I think it's more the ramifications. I don't see any silver bullet that could be
Hmm.
a disaster for us. We're just kind of to get a general budget. Obviously, they've got a lot of different bills they have to get passed and appropriations. So some of those, if we can get some funding in certain programs, the H-2B program is one that we're hopeful that we can see improvements in how that program is funded. Turf research in the Farm Bill is another one that's really important to our community, our industry. So we're keeping an eye on those, but those are not, I consider death bills for us. But we think that they are important to our industry, and hopefully they will remain in the budget process as they currently are right now.
Gotcha. Well, we'll, as many people will be doing the same. We'll be sitting there with our fingers crossed, hoping that we get a continued government in operation, which means continued revenue, of course, in business for the golfers and the golf course operators. The other thing I want to talk to you about is sort of a lead into our subject today. We're going to be talking a little bit about golf and travel, one of our favorite travel places, Myrtle Beach, and one of the most lucrative places for golf. I just want to start off with a fact. I'm going to steal this one from you because this was listed by our great team at NGCOA that according to NGF Golf Tourism and Travel, the industry has a $40 billion impact on the U.S. economy, with only 9 billion of that being directly golf facility income. The remaining is what golfers leave behind in the communities, the local communities that they visit. I thought that was a stunning number. I knew that it was a big number. I had no idea it was that big of a number. All things point to this being a huge impact on our economy, golf and otherwise. Golf's doing great. Seems like golf travel's doing great as well.
Yeah, it is, and those points are they seem to increase every year. Every year that
Yeah,
it
yeah.
comes out with their study. Fortunately, we continue to see growth in those numbers, and that's always a positive thing.
Mhm.
Within that mix, if you look at golf tourism as is defined through the NGF, there's roughly over 12 million individuals counted as golf travelers in 2024. So it's a large part of our economy, but it's also large part of the U.S. economy. In the U.S., we have what is identified right now as about 16 major golf destination markets. And that, in many cases, that can be an entire state. So,
Mhm,
again,
mhm,
a lot of major markets of golf in the U.S., but of course, there's many more small tourism destination markets that are really golf is a major amenity, while it's not considered a golf destination because golf is such an important amenity in that community. Golf tourism is also very important. I know in Tennessee, we had a number of locations in Tennessee that fell into that category.
yeah.
So again, there's a lot of those spread throughout the country, and where people will either go for golf or go for others, and always have golf part of their menu of experiences while they're on the road. But golf travel is emerging, continues to grow, and we're seeing a lot of benefits. We're seeing the growth in if you look at the construction of the industry,
Hmm.
the construction side is looking at more growth into that resort
Mhm,
market. Right
mhm,
now, we have there's 1,185 golf resorts in the U.S. Of those, 175 are exclusively golf. That's pretty much all they have. As you go there, you golf. You could have a place to sleep, but generally it is focused on golf.
including places like Bandon Dune, like the number one, I would say, the golf destination on the planet. That's big.
Absolutely.
You go to play golf, eat,
Yeah,
sleep, play
then
golf,
you
repeat.
have those that are really golf and real estate centric, like Kiowa here in South Carolina, Hilton
Sure.
Head, where there are really a golf resort. There's 410 of those, so it's a big part of our economy in the U.S. and it's continuing to grow. Between private markets and resort development, that's where we're seeing the greatest growth in construction. If you look at the latest report by NGF, that's where the growth is being. So it's not necessarily within. There seem to be building outside of our urban areas,
Yeah.
and really getting out into the fringes of our community to build new developments.
Yeah. Now, I just one more question is we've had such good news. All of that, everything that you said is good news. Can we expect that to continue? And we're golf is on a high right now. What's a prospect for the next year or two?
Again, everything is driven by supply and demand, and the demand right now is continuing to show strength. Just saw the latest numbers for that Pellucid puts out. I mean, releases their report. So we're seeing continued strength in the numbers of participation.
Mhm.
You saw recently our CEO, Jay Karen, talked about the tremendous growth in the screen golf. So that's a market that will contribute to that. But again, if we look at it from a travel perspective, I think we'll see continued the market of travel and golf continues to look strong. We see good indicators in that. The planning ahead, the preparing for that. And when we talk to our guest today, we'll talk a little bit more about bring some more of that information out about what the outlook is, because obviously he's probably the very smarter than you and I in this subject, but we'll try to get that out of him.
Well, smarter than me anyway. Maybe not smarter than you, but definitely he's got some stuff on me. So we're looking forward to asking him some questions. So we'll take a quick break right here, and we'll come back with our guest, Ryan Cannon, Executive Director of Golf Tourism Solutions, here on the NGCOA Advocacy Angle. We'll see you in a minute. Welcome back to NGCOA Advocacy Angle. Michael Williams, Ronnie Miles. We're going to talk now about one of my favorite topics, which is golf tourism and travel. I mean, we love to travel and we love to play golf. What could be better than combining those two things together? And when you talk about golf and tourism and travel, there is no bigger name than Myrtle Beach. Myrtle Beach is consistently, if not number one, certainly in the top two of places in this country and maybe even globally of places to play in terms of courses, in terms of what they have to offer. It is outstanding. Joining us today to tell us a little bit about the industry and what it has going on and what we can count on seeing in the future is somebody who'll know better than anybody else. He's Ryan Cannon, the Executive Director of Golf Tourism Solutions down in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Ryan, welcome to Advocacy Angle. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, Michael. It's good to see you and Ronnie. I appreciate y'all carving out some time to talk about golf in Myrtle Beach, two of
Well,
everybody's favorite subjects.
amen to that. And without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Ronnie because I know he's got a ton of questions for you, so I'm not going to limit his time. Ronnie, go ahead, my friend.
Hey Ryan, appreciate you giving us your time today. But the first thing I want to do, something was on my bucket list for many years, and I finally had an opportunity to participate in it for a couple of years ago. But that is the World Amateur Golf Championship, and I know you guys just concluded up your latest one. How did it go for you?
Yeah, Ronnie, it's so just a little bit of background. I started in this role in January of last year. And believe it or not, prior to meeting with our board in the fall of 23, I've not heard of the World Amp. It was, and I had asked around for a few other people, and that was a consistent theme. And could not believe the impact and what this event was. And it seemed like one of the best kept secrets in all of golf. So, for those that may not be familiar, we have the Play Golf Myrtle Beach World Amateur Championship. This year was the 42nd year. It's always the week leading into Labor Day here in Myrtle Beach. And this year we had 3,000 participants from 47 different states, 19 different countries. Of those participants, 300 were women. So it's the largest amateur golf event in the world at a single location. It's also the largest women's golf event at a single location. Participants range in age from 17 to 92. So we end up with 60 different flights. It's net, 72 holes of net stroke play. And there's just nothing else like it in golf anywhere. And it's been happening here for a very long time. And what makes it really fun, one of the reasons, there's a lot of reasons, but certainly one of, is that during the day, everybody goes out on any given day. We've got 31 different golf courses that are hosting. They'll play their competitive round. And then folks gather, we take over the entire Myrtle Beach Convention Center, and folks gather every evening for the world's largest 19th hole. So the storytelling at the 19th hole and the commiserating and the birdies and eagles and bogeys that are discussed. There's just it's just such a good time. And so we had an amazing week. A lot of new things were done this year. We had two proud partners, formal proud partners for the World Am, which is the first ever in the PJ Tour Superstore and Golf Pass. We had St. Andre Golf and Friends were hosting the world's largest 19th hole for the week. Some appearances that also came along with their hosting were Charlie Reimer, who's been a part of it for a long time, but then the Bryan brothers made an appearance for karaoke night. If you want something entertaining, Ronnie, you need to come back. And Michael, 3,000 golfers doing karaoke with the Bryan brothers in St. Andre is worth the price of admission. We have Mike Wan, CEO of the USGA, came and spent the day with us. But really just an amazing week. It's such a celebration of golf. in golf in Myrtle Beach, which is one of the most special places in the game. So it was a thrill to be a part of that. Mother Nature cooperated. It was a beautiful week. We had an unbelievable competition. Gosh, we could do a whole podcast on this, by the way.
Absolutely. That's what I was about to say.
The
Yeah.
competition came down to a gentleman from Kenya who, on the 90th hole, he's standing on his 90th hole. We take all the flight winners from 72 holes in net stroke play, and they play a fifth round. And he's standing on the 90th tee with a one-shot lead and a stroke on a par five, and hits his tee shot down the middle of the fairway. And unfortunately, from there, proceeds to make an eight. So he not only missed winning, he missed a three-way playoff. And our three-way playoff turned into a two-way playoff because one of the participants had to leave to catch a flight back to Bermuda. So you just can't make this stuff up. So really an amazing story. A gentleman who ended up won, Scott Collette from Knoxville, Tennessee, six handicapper. He'd been playing in the World Am every year since 2014, and he came out world champion. So it is just it is a magical week and a celebration of golf, unlike any other on the planet, and would advise anybody to come and check it out. It's so much fun.
Well, I can vouch, 3,000 golfers, and all 3,000, I'm sure, had the experience of their life. I really enjoyed the time that I had an opportunity to play there. But beyond the what the golfers took away, what was left for the city of Myrtle Beach and the surrounding community? What was the economic impact of that tournament?
Yeah, so travel golf is a big deal, and certainly a big deal here. But around the world am alone, the event is. We did the study last year. $17.1 million economic impact. 94% of the participants come from outside. We think of the region as a three-county region here in Georgetown, Horry, and Brunswick County. 94% of the participants are from outside that area. So you're looking at over 20,000 hotel room nights just for this event. And so, and folks, while we have the 19th hole every evening, folks bring their friends and family, and if they're not competing, they're out enjoying all the things that the region has to offer. So, um, huge impact economically, but maybe even the just overall quality of life metrics here is where the impact might even be greater. We do raise money for charity. We raised $6,000 for Project Golf this year, and you can't put a price tag on the smiles and memories. That's for sure.
Well, on top of that fundraising, again, we're very appreciative, as I know all of the owners and operators in North Carolina were appreciative the money that your organization and the golf courses in Myrtle Beach raised to contribute to help golf courses in North Carolina affected by Hurricane Helene. So again, thank you and your team for the work of putting that together.
I appreciate that, Ronnie. It was our privilege to do it. There's good people everywhere in the golf industry, but having spent, almost 2 years now here in Myrtle Beach, I think some of the best people in the golf industry are here, and they're no strangers to certainly the impacts of hurricanes here on the coast. And so, with North Carolina being actually the location where more people come to Myrtle Beach than any other state, it just seemed this community wanted to do what they could to try to help and do it even well after the fact too. That's part of the wisdom here, is that they know that, a year later, and in some ways, a lot of that work is still well underway. So it probably feels like it's just getting started. So that they were happy to come together and try to help any way they could.
Good. Well, thank you. Going back to our impact of golf travel and the golf in the economy, there in Myrtle Beach, obviously, I grew up outside of Myrtle Beach, so I'm quite familiar with it. But I was really taken aback by the economic impact of golf in Myrtle Beach, and one number that really stood out to me, because Myrtle Beach population is not a Charleston, it's not that huge, But the latest report showed that 13,440 jobs are impacted by golf in Myrtle Beach market. So huge impact, huge impact. Can you talk a little bit about the overall impact of golf, not beyond the World Am, but what's going on, the other 50, 4 months of the year,
Mhm.
weeks?
Yeah, so anecdotally, everyone knew for a long time that golf in Myrtle Beach had a huge impact economically to the region. But we had spent the last 8 months, for the first time ever, based on 2024 data, and in partnership with the National Golf Foundation and the Myrtle Beach Area Golf Course Owners Association, um, and SCPRT, which is Parks, Rec, and Tourism for the state. We got our arms around the economic impact of golf in the Myrtle Beach area golf market. And that goes by golf, Myrtle Beach area golf market. It's that 3 county area that I had just mentioned. Within that geographic footprint, there are 78 golf courses. 91% of those golf courses are public access. So it is it's the most densely uh, populated public access golf, and I would argue the highest quality concentration of public access golf, certainly in the country. And the economic impact of that footprint is what's a $1.6 billion industry. And as you had shared, Ronnie, there's over 13,000 families that put 13,000 people that put food on the table for their families through the game of golf. $483 million in wages and almost $136 million in tax collection. So, um, a quick story of maybe how some of that comes to life beyond the data is at the Barefoot Resort and Golf, opened its doors. 4 golf courses opened in April of 2000, of the year 2000. They opened 4 courses all at once. At that time, there were 24 doorknobs, and in that case, a doorknob would be a townhome or a condo. Well, earlier this year, I was at the North Myrtle Beach City Hall, and they were celebrating 25 years of the Barefoot Resort, and they gave a key to the city to Mr. Sam Puya, who's the owner and visionary behind the property. Well, today they have 4,200 doorknobs. So that's one doorknob every 2 days, every week, every month, every year for 25 years in a row. And um, they're still building more too. So the city of North Myrtle Beach, they attributed the growth of all of North Myrtle Beach to Barefoot Resort, and that's not an overstatement. So, that's millions of rounds of golf, both for residents and tourists. It's millions raised in charity. Barefoot is noted time and time again. They've received awards for environmental stewardship. I mean, gosh, how do you begin to quantify the social, mental, positive effects, the enjoyment and quality of life for residents, the impact on property values? I mean, it's just huge. Well, that story is repeated over and over and over again now for nearly 100 years in Myrtle Beach. So the impact of golf in Myrtle Beach cannot be overstated. Just simply
Yeah,
put.
well, one thing I always find interesting when I study a little bit about the Myrtle Beach golf industry is the relationship between the golf community and in the travel leadership community, which is the chamber, the CVBs, there in Myrtle Beach. Obviously, it makes up a big team. How does that organization work within that market in terms of how closely do you operate together?
Yet we are hand in glove and have been for a long time. In fact, the history of golf tourism solutions goes all the way back to 1969, when at the time there were 10 golf courses and 20 motels here in the Myrtle Beach area. And they got together and said, look, this place is busy during the summer, but what if we started to package a round of golf with a hotel room? We might be able to get more people to come here in the spring and fall. Well, in 1969, that was a novel concept. The whole idea of leisure travel was really a new concept, leisure travel for the masses in the United States. Um, Along with that idea, that group, and this is partly based on the communal nature and culture of this community, they said, look, none of us are going to be able to kind of tell the story in a meaningful way individually. How about if we pull our funds together? I bet we'll be able to reach more people under one destination brand. And so, in one fell swoop, the idea of the modern golf package and the idea of golf centric destination marketing, those were invented here. And so, here we are 55 years later. Um, and really from day one, engaging and working with the state of South Carolina, engaging and working with, the Myrtle Beach Area Chamber of Commerce and Visit Myrtle Beach, really was hand in glove. It was, and decades of that intention and that effort. One way to look at it is there's 95,000 miles of shoreline in the United States, 95,000 miles of beach. That's a lot of beach. So, I think Myrtle Beach stands out because of the relationship it has with the game of golf. And so, that effort over a long period of time and that relationship pays off in that way.
Yeah, well, I applaud Myrtle Beach is really they're leaders in a lot of areas when we talk about golf and travel, but outside of Myrtle Beach, and as we look at some of our owners operators who may be joining us on this viewing this podcast, if they're in a market. What are some of the strategies that you would encourage them to consider working as they look and find their partners with the chambers and the CVBs, their DMOs? What's some of the strategies that they might take on to improve that relationship, to use the resources and energy that comes from these organizations to help them grow their business?
Yeah, it's a great question, Ronnie. And part of I think the first step is taking some time to try to understand the ecosystem that's behind travel, tourism, and economic development in your state and in your region. Tourism is one of those things that sometimes is overlooked, but it's actually a $2.5 trillion industry in the United States alone. So, it is a huge industry. So, in turn, there is an enormous public effort and ecosystem behind cultivating and building and driving tourism down both in the United States and at the state level, and then as you get a little more local, regionally, and then local. So just taking a minute to kind of try to investigate what that ecosystem looks like in your particular community is a really good step. And while you're at it, look at the economic development ecosystem that's there as well. And so once you start to get your arms around that, a great first step is if you're not a member of your local chamber or your local convention visitors bureau, become one. Start going to meetings, join the chamber, ask a lot of questions. As you progress further along and those relationships develop and you start to learn, okay, what are the priorities for our community? How do they talk about our community? How do these entities try to drive economic development and travel tourism to our region? There's no community in America where golf's story does not fit in to that framework. So, but that'd be my recommendation is to just spend a little bit of time to kind of learn what the ecosystem of that framework is for your community, and then join your local entity and go from there.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. Whether you are in a golf market, golf destination market or not, I think every golf course owner or operator would benefit from becoming engaged and involved with their local chamber.
Yeah, it's one of those, when we say things like DMOs and CVBs, it's just understanding what those acronyms mean,
Yeah.
and that's really a good first step.
Yeah,
It
and I think
takes a
that's a
minute.
very good point made because a lot of people, they think they're really the same when they're in fact they are, but they are not. The chamber is there to support the business community. That's really all it's there to do, to listen to the community. What are the issues facing their business, their community? How do they grow the business in that community? When you look at the CVBs, their role and responsibility within that community is to grow and develop their convention business. So that's what they're founded to do. Whereas your destination markets office, like Visit Myrtle Beach, they're really focused on tourism, focused on the entire space of travel and leisure travel, especially. They're more focused on leisure travel than the business traveler, although they do have one of their strategies is business travel development. But for the most part, the DMOs is really the arm that really focuses on the energy around building tourism within that community.
Yeah, exactly. That little bit of education just is helpful to kind of demystify it and bring some perspective to help inform that first step.
Yeah. Again, we talk about, we have a number of our golf course owners, single course owner. What advice would you give that owner in these small markets about they still want to try to leverage the efforts with the chamber and the DMO beyond just becoming a membership? What are some of the benefits that they might um, pursue or at least look to have in a partnership with the chamber or the DMOs, look to offer them at the same time expect to receive from these organizations?
So I'll maybe share a little bit of how our mission comes to life, and that's I'd say at arguably one of the largest kind of scales and deepest integrations there is in golf. But then all of those things you can go backwards in time and kind of unwind those into a first step, right? So today our mission is to promote, elevate, and advance the golf capital of the world. And the golf capital of the world, that's actually intellectual property that we own. That's a registered trademark of Golf Tourism Solutions. We pursue our mission with 5 areas of focus: marketing, events, technology, research, and our membership. On the marketing side, uh, we really focus on kind of three big buckets. So paid, earned, and owned media. Paid media would be your kind of traditional um, uh, you're renting an audience, you're buying ads digitally or otherwise in an outlet to try to share your message through that medium. Earned would be more, along the lines of public relations effort, trying to get stories written, really engaging others to tell your story. And then owned media is content. We produce a tremendous amount now of our own content. In fact, we're moving more towards generating arguably more of our budget now is getting aimed at owned media than the other two buckets because it's the best way for us to tell our own story and engage and build a loyal and raving community of Myrtle Beach. Um, so on the marketing side, again, your destination marketing organizations or chambers, they're doing the same thing. So you can kind of engage at a very first step. Another on the event side, in our case, we do a lot of events, but two really big ones are we have now the One Flight Myrtle Beach Classic, the PJ Tour event that happens in May over Mother's Day weekend here every year. And then, of course, in the fall or late summer, there around Labor Day, the Play Golf Myrtle Beach World Amateur Championship. So um, the One Flight Myrtle Beach Classic, that started with Visit Myrtle Beach. They are the ones who um, committed to being the title sponsor to the first year of a PJ Tour event. And that was because they saw and believed in the power of golf to convene and the impact of the game, and they wanted a PJ Tour event to try to amplify all of that. Um, you know, any golf course, if you build the right coalition, you could kind of harness a similar type of energy through that channel. Um, then, one other area is membership. I'll touch on membership for a minute. We are a member-driven organization. We have 67 golf courses and 40 travel providers that contribute annual dues into the organization that allow us to pursue the mission of the organization. Um, and then we also are provided with public funds, and we steward those public funds towards the pursuit of that mission as well. And so, again, any community can start and make a small step along any one of those dimensions to try to, promote, elevate, and advance golf in their community. Um, there's a very powerful story to tell there, no matter how big or small, your golf market is.
Yeah. Well, one last thing, I know we're up on against the clock here, but I did want to ask for those markets who are really looking at beyond the borders of the U.S., the international market. What is your strategy for reaching the international markets, to targeting those markets and then reaching them?
Yeah, it's a lot of work we also do with Visit Myrtle Beach. The A lot of that is going into the market, finding the travel ecosystem inside those countries in many cases, and looking to do partnerships that are meaningful. Trade shows often come up, golf shows in our case. And so it's not really all that different than the domestic strategy. It's just normally done within, and with a resident expert in that particular country. So I I wouldn't advise it as an early step for a community that wants to kind of go down this path. There's obviously, I think, a lot more return on some localized effort, even for us at a high level. We still a majority of
Yeah.
visitors to Myrtle Beach with golf clubs are
Well,
coming domestically, right?
yeah,
So,
obviously this is really for more mature markets when
yeah,
you start wanting to get beyond the borders of the U.S. and I
that's right.
understand that. Does your organization or does the Visit Myrtle Beach depend and they work with Brand USA? You find that relationship
There,
exists?
there is a relationship, and they just came back. Visit Myrtle Beach was at Esto here recently, and they're hand in
Good.
glove, and so there's a strong kind of working relationship there. So traditionally, our organization has not, had that relationship. It's been more Visit Myrtle Beach, but as we go forward in time, I believe Jay is still
U.S.
on the
Travel
national
Board, yes.
board, and so
Yeah,
I know that's really tough detail to sit on the national. They have meetings in the some of the
yeah.
places nobody would ever want to go.
Yeah, well, again,
Yeah,
someone's got to do it, but
and somebody's got to do it.
he's the
We
right guy to be the spokesperson
we
for
could the
our
industry
industry.
could not have a better advocate on that board, and you know right behind golf facility operations, travel golf is the second largest segment of the $100 billion golf industry. So
Yeah.
no doubt that's a critical relationship and one that we want to lean into further at our level in the industry.
All right. Michael, you have any questions for Ryan?
Well, you guys covered a lot of ground. Just the one question I had, Ryan, was about sort of the golf alternatives that are coming up with golf simulators, of course, Top Golf. If you believe some of the statistics that you see there, whatever number you put out for golfers, green grass golfers, three, four times that are touching Top Golf every year. What are your strategies or plans for including those types of alternatives in bringing people and keeping people in Myrtle Beach?
Yeah, so well, it certainly starts with mindset and collectively everyone here, while our members are 18 hole or more green grass golf facilities and travel golf providers, everybody here believes that a club in hand in any way, shape, or form is a good thing.
Mhm.
And so there's Top Golf. There is a Top Golf here in Myrtle Beach. There's over 50 miniature golf courses in Myrtle Beach. It's one of my favorite parts of my drive into work is it's surreal at times because there's lots of pirates and dinosaurs and
Yeah.
just the creativity is awesome. But you know, everyone believes that club in hand in all forms, screen golf, simulator golf, short, you know, par three courses. There's the more of that, the better. And so we'll just continue to advocate for anything that involves club in hand at every turn. You know, we are pretty embedded into the legislative and regulatory and economic development infrastructure here in the state of South Carolina. We will advocate across the board that all of that is good for the state and good for our region and good for our community.
I couldn't agree more. Great answer among many great answers. Thank you so much, Ryan, for spending the time with us. Ryan Cannon, Executive Director of the Golf Tourism Solutions in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Before we go, we're going to keep you on, Ryan. Ronnie, I just want to let you get in a couple words about the Champion Circle. I mean, that's our sponsor for this show. And for those who don't know, just give a quick 411 on what that does and how they can get involved with it.
Yeah, the NGCOA Champion Circle started last year, was our first year, and it's where individuals step up and contribute to our advocacy program. It's outside of our membership revenue stream, but we invite any organization or individuals who want to be enhanced, to help us enhance and sustain the growth of our advocacy efforts to consider becoming one of our Champion Circle members.
Outstanding. And in order to do that, who do they get in touch with at NGCOA?
They get in touch with me,
There
is
you
the
go.
easiest route.
Here you go. Ronnie Miles, the sheriff. Get in touch with him and he'll take care of you. Uh, Thank you so much, Ronnie. Thank you so much, Ryan, for spending some time with us. That's all for this edition of Advocacy Angle. I'm your host, Michael Williams. Thanks to you for watching, and we'll see you again soon. Bye bye now.